All right, so we're going to be taking a deep dive today into Whispers in the Alley.
Okay.
And this is a detective story.
Right.
It takes place in Blackwood City.
Hmm.
You know, a detective, a mystery, and a city with tons of secrets.
Yeah. I mean, this one, it grabbed me right from the first scene.
Oh, yeah.
Like the way the author just described that rainy alleyway,
Mm.
you know, the neon lights and reflecting off the puddles.
Yeah.
Just so chilling right from the start.
Yeah, you feel like you're right there with Detective Sam Reynolds when he finds that first victim,
Right.
and then there's those symbols
Oh, yeah.
drawn in blood.
Yeah. Not your everyday calling card.
Oh, not at all.
Really makes you think you know that we're dealing with something.
Yeah.
More than just some random act of violence.
Yeah.
This is like calculated,
Right.
deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the killer's trying to send a message.
Yeah. It's like there's speaking in code.
Exactly.
And then there's another victim,
Right.
this time a woman.
Right. Completely different part of the city.
But those same eerie symbols,
Yeah.
what does it all mean?
It really makes you think about what it takes to break a detective. You know, all that pressure,
Yeah.
the lack of leads,
Yeah,
always feeling like you're one step behind.
right.
It's no wonder that Sam gets so obsessed with this case.
Yeah, he really does. I mean, he goes to every expert he can find
Right.
and finally has a breakthrough.
Oh, yeah?
Those symbols, they're not random.
Hmm.
They form a cipher,
Wow.
pointing to different places in Blackwood.
So that's where the story shifts,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Right.
It goes from setting the mood and the mystery to this chase.
Yeah.
But he's not even sure who he's chasing.
Right. And this chase leads him to an abandoned warehouse
Okay.
by the river.
Hmm.
Creepy place, you know?
Yeah, I mean, just reading it, you can practically smell the dampness and the decay.
Yeah, and inside there's this, makeshift altar
Right.
and more symbols and photos of the victims.
Yeah, talk about creepy.
Gives me chills just thinking about it.
The warehouse itself is very symbolic, don't you think?
How so?
Well, it's hidden away, on the edge of the city.
Uh-huh.
Forgotten, neglected.
Yeah.
Like a representation of the city's underbelly,
Oh, I see.
where secrets fester and darkness thrives.
That's a good point. And this is also where things get really dangerous for Sam.
Oh, really?
He sees someone, a mysterious figure,
Mm.
and there's a chase.
Oh, wow.
You can feel his heart pounding as he runs through the dark,
Yeah.
not knowing who or what he's chasing.
Does this remind you of any other detective stories?
You know, it reminds me of those film noir scenes
Right.
where the detective is always like a half step behind,
Wow.
stumbling through the darkness, trying to put the pieces together. But this warehouse scene, it's really important
Oh, why is that?
because it leads to a real clue.
Mm.
Sam finally starts to make sense of this chaos.
So back at the station, he's going over everything.
Uh-huh.
And there's a photo from the warehouse that catches his eye. And it's a young man who looks a lot like the first victim.
Right. And this young man,
Yeah.
he had connections to a gang
Oh, really?
called the Ravens.
The Ravens.
And if you know Blackwood, you know that the Ravens are trouble.
Yeah. Violence, drugs, intimidation, you name it.
Yeah, they're involved in all of it.
But what I find really interesting is how the author portrays them.
Okay.
They're not just mindless thugs.
Right.
They have their own code, their own language.
Mm.
Those symbols,
Yeah.
the ones from the crime scenes,
Right.
that's their communication.
Wow.
Their way of marking territory, sending messages to their rivals.
It's chilling to think about
It is.
that these murders weren't just random acts of violence. They were deliberate messages.
Right, in a language most people didn't understand.
Yeah. Even the police.
Makes you think how much we miss in our own lives,
Mm.
simply because we don't understand the language being spoken.
That's a really good point.
Just like the Raven symbols. There might be messages hidden in plain sight,
Uh-huh.
but without the right knowledge, we're completely oblivious.
That's a really powerful thought.
It is.
Makes you wonder what secrets we're missing in our own lives.
Yeah.
Just because we don't have the key.
Right.
And for Sam, this realization about the Ravens and their symbols and their messages,
Yeah.
it changes everything.
Okay.
The case suddenly becomes very personal.
Why is that?
Because now he knows anyone connected to the Ravens,
Right.
anyone who can decipher their messages is a potential target.
Hmm.
And unfortunately for Sam,
Mhm.
someone he knows fits that description perfectly.
Oh, no.
And knowing that someone he's close to could be the next target.
Yeah.
Sam's now in a race against time.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just solving a puzzle now.
Right.
He has to protect the people he cares about.
Right.
And this all leads up to the climax of the story,
Okay.
the showdown at the Ravens' hideout.
Right.
this old factory on the outskirts of Blackwood.
I mean, the tension in this scene is just palpable.
Oh, yeah.
The way the author builds the suspense, describing the stakeout, the waiting, the feeling that anything could happen.
Yeah, you're right there with Sam and his partner Leela,
Right.
hiding in the darkness, waiting for the moment to make their move.
Yeah, and when they finally do, it's just chaos.
Total chaos.
Gunfire, shouting, people running.
Yeah.
A real reminder of how dangerous police work can be.
Yeah.
There's nothing glamorous or romantic about it.
Right.
It's dangerous, unpredictable,
Uh-huh.
and sometimes people get hurt.
And that's exactly what happens.
Right in the middle of everything, Leela gets shot.
It's a real cliffhanger.
Yes, it is.
Will she survive?
Right.
It's heartbreaking, and it shows just how much is at stake.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the author shows us how Sam and Lila react to this trauma so differently. Leela, even though she's been seriously injured,
Yeah.
she's incredibly resilient,
Right.
determined to get back on her feet.
Yeah, like she's defying what she's been through.
Exactly. It's like her strength comes from this commitment to justice.
Mm.
She won't let a gunshot or a gang like the Ravens stop her from doing her job.
Sam, on the other hand, he's really shaken.
Yeah.
Seems to withdraw into himself, more introspective, haunted by the case, the symbols,
Yeah.
realizing that darkness can hide anywhere.
I think a lot of people can relate to that struggle.
Yeah.
Those moments where you question everything around you,
Yeah.
wrestling with good and evil, trying to make sense of things that just don't make sense. And I think that's what makes Whispers in the Alley more than just a typical thriller.
Okay.
It digs into what violence does to people.
Right.
The moral dilemmas faced by those who are fighting for justice
Uh,
and how trauma can stay with you.
it's a dark story,
It is.
but there is hope.
Oh, yeah.
The Ravens are brought to justice. Their reign of terror is over.
Right.
Blackwood City starts to heal.
That sense of resolution is important.
It is.
It shows that even when things are at their worst, there's always a chance for things to get better.
Yeah. And for Sam, even though he's changed by the case, he doesn't give up.
Right.
He keeps listening to the city's whispers,
Mhm.
trying to uncover its secrets and be a shield against the darkness.
Right.
That last line of the story. The city whispered its tales in the alleyways, but now Detective Sam Reynolds was listening.
Oh, yeah.
That really sums it up.
Yeah, it's like he's not just a detective anymore. He's like a guardian, a protector,
Yeah.
learning to see the patterns, recognize the signs, anticipate what's coming next.
So what whispers are you hearing in your own life?
That's a good question.
Are you paying attention to the subtle things, the patterns that might be telling you something important? Are you listening to the voices that everyone else ignores?
Think about it.
Okay.
What if those whispers,
Yeah.
the ones we think are meaningless,
Right.
what if they're actually trying to tell us something crucial?
Hmm.
What if they hold the key to solving a mystery
Yeah.
or a problem? Or even preventing something terrible from happening?
Whispers in the Alley reminds us that sometimes
Yeah.
the most important messages are the quietest ones.
Right.
The ones we really have to listen for.
It encourages us to be more aware,
Yeah.
to pay attention,
Uh-huh.
and to trust our gut when something feels wrong.
Yeah.
It also highlights the importance of perspective.
Okay.
What seems random to one person
Right.
could be vital information to someone else.
It's like Sam having to figure out those Raven symbols.
Right. We all need to develop those skills
Yeah.
to see the patterns and connect the dots in our own lives.
Being curious, paying attention to the details that other people miss.
Uh-huh. And being open to the idea that there's always more to learn,
More to uncover.
more to understand.
Exactly. So as we head into the last part of our deep dive, I want you to keep thinking about those whispers.
All right.
What signs are you missing in your own life? What stories are waiting to be told? If you just know how to listen. That ending, though, with Sam standing there alone listening to the city, it's like there's closure. You know, the Ravens are locked up. Blackwood's getting back on his feet, but at the same time, there's this feeling that the darkness isn't really gone.
Yeah, like the author's making us think about what happens after the case is closed, after people stop talking about it. What about the detective? What about the city? What about everyone who went through that violence?
It makes you wonder about the scars. You can't see the whispers that stick around long after everything goes quiet. The story really shows how trauma hangs on life, how it changes people and places.
It brings us right back to that question we keep coming back to. What are we missing? What are those hidden messages, those whispers in our own lives? Whispers in the alley is like a wake-up call to pay attention, to listen carefully, and trust that little voice inside.
Because sometimes those whispers, they can help us understand ourselves and the world around us better. They can challenge what we believe, show us what's hidden, and even make us do something about it.
Think about what Sam went through. He just wanted to solve the case, but he ended up having to face his own prejudices, his own fears, and how much darkness he had inside.
The case was like a mirror showing him the violence of the Ravens, but also the complicated stuff inside himself. And by going through all that, he came out different, changed by what happened.
We can all relate to that, even if we haven't faced the same dangers as Sam. Every experience, every encounter, every whisper we listen to it can change who we are.
That's why it matters what we choose to focus on, what stories we let get to us, and what messages we want to share with others.
We're all storytellers. In a way, we create our own stories, and by
Yeah.
doing that, we add to the big story of the world around us.
As we wrap up our deep dive into Whispers in the Alley, think about this. What stories are you telling yourself? What messages are you listening to? And how are those choices shaping how you see the world and your place in it?
Remember, even in a world full of noise, sometimes the quietest whispers have the deepest truths. It's up to us to really listen, to understand what they mean, and use what we learn to make the world a better place, more caring and more understanding.
We hope this deep dive has made you want to listen to the whispers around you, to find those hidden messages, and to embrace the power of stories in your own life. And until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep